What's up, YouTube? I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC 206. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Zach McCoskey versus Dustin Ortiz. And I just want to say, it's really fucked up that this fight is like the first fight on the card. Both these guys are in like the top 10, top 15. And there are guys that are way lower ranked than them that, should be the first fight of the night. It bothers me. But either way, I think that Dustin's a little bit better of a striker, but I think overall McCoskey's got better wrestling and better jiu-jitsu. And I do think that this fight's primarily going to be a grappling fight, so it might not be the most entertaining fight. It depends on how fast-paced the grappling is. At flyweight, it's usually pretty quick, so you never know. But I just think McCoskey's going to get the better of the exchanges for the most part, and he'll probably end up winning a split decision, maybe a majority decision. Next is Jason Sago versus Rustam Khabilov, and Sago's a really good jiu-jitsu guy, but that's about it. I think Khabilov's a better striker and wrestler overall. I think Khabilov will be able to, when he gets takedowns, he'll be able to stay on top and just beat this guy up. And I think that's what's going to happen for 3 straight rounds, is just he's going to get takedowns or stuff takedowns and then just grind out their 27 decision. Next is John Makdessi versus Lando Vannata, and Makdessi, his striking is always pretty good, but sometimes he's a little bit off, I guess is the best way to put it. And to me, Vannata looked great against, a guy who's number 1 or number 2 in the world. I think he was winning that whole fight up until he got submitted in the 3rd round. And he took that fight on like 2 weeks' notice, so he's probably the hottest prospect in any division right now just because of how amazing he looked against Tony Ferguson. And I'm just going to go based off of that one fight and assume that he's probably going to be pretty good. And I think sooner or later he's going to catch Makdessi and probably win by knockout or TKO. Next is Mitch Gagnon versus Matthew Lopez. And Matthew Lopez was that guy from Dana White looking for a fight. And he's already lost to Manny Gambierian. And I think John Makdessi fights exactly the same way. So I just feel like the exact same thing is going to happen. I think I think Mitch Gagnon's just going to continuously hit takedowns on this guy and eventually win by submission with a choke. He's got nasty rear nakeds and nasty guillotines. And this is what I see happening. Sooner or later, Mitch is going to lock up a choke. Next is Valerie Letourneau versus Vivian Pereira. And Vivian just looks like she's okay. She's not amazing. I think Valerie Letourneau's just way better than this chick, and I just think she's going by knockout or TKO. Not much to say about this fight. I think that's the biggest mismatch on the whole card. Next is Olivier Marburn Mercier versus Drew Dober. And Olivier's a really good judo guy, really good takedowns, but that's about it. His striking has not improved at all since The Ultimate Fighter. And we've seen he has a hard time controlling guys that are good at getting up, and I think that Drew Dober is really good at getting up, and his striking is amazing. And I feel like unless Olivier really develops some striking to mix in with his grappling, he's just not going to be able to beat the decent guys at lightweight. And I think that's what Drew Dober is. I don't think Drew Dober is amazing, but he's consistent with everything. He's got good takedown defense. He's got good takedowns of his own. He's good at getting back up, and his striking is consistent, and his conditioning is consistent. So I just feel like it's one of those things where I don't think Olivier is going to be able to continuously take him down and hold him down. And I think Dober is just going to get a decision, maybe even a late TKO on him. Next is Nikita Krylov versus Misha Kurinov. And Misha's looked good in the UFC so far. He's 3-0, but he hasn't been fighting the best people. And not only that, but his 2 losses were both submission losses. And I feel like Nikita's best area is his grappling. As for Nikita, I think he has some losses too, but most of those losses were at heavyweight. Since he's moved down to light heavyweight, he's gone 5-1, and his one loss was to OSP. So I think to me, Nikita, he's won 5 straight, and he's coming up. And not only that, I think he's a good stylistic matchup against Misha with his jiu-jitsu. And I think sooner or later he's going to win by submission, maybe even knockout. Next we got Jordan Meehan versus Emil Meek. And Emil isn't very good. I think he's basically just a decent striker. The only reason he's here is because he knocked out He knocked out Husimar Palhares. And aside from that, I mean, he was just okay. His record was like 7-2. Now it's 8-2. And I think his 2 losses were both knockout losses. So this is one of those things where he's a decent striker. And I think Jordan Meehan, as long as the time off that he's spent hasn't diminished his skills, I think he should be able to knock this guy out. He might even be able to take him down and just control him and win by submission. But as long as Jordan Meehan hasn't gotten rusty over the last year or 2 that he's had off, he should be able to win this fight pretty easily. Next is Tim Kennedy versus Kelvin Gastelum. And to me, Kelvin Gastelum's too small for a middleweight. It's just that he doesn't nutrition right. He's not like this gigantic guy. He's a perfect 170er. It's just he doesn't take his dieting very seriously. and that's why they're forcing him to fight at middleweight now. And I think what's going to happen is he's going to fight Tim Kennedy, who's a pretty big fucking dude in my opinion. I mean, he's pretty solid middleweight. And I think Tim Kennedy, you know, he's just going to be able to control Kelvin just because the size is so much in his favor. And, you know, Kelvin is no one to blame for this but himself. Now he's going to be fighting guys that are way bigger than him, and he's probably not going to be able to beat them. And he's probably just never going to, you know, at 170, I think he could have been a title challenger for the belt one day. But I think at middleweight, he's just too fucking small for some of those bigger guys like the Rockholds and the Romeros and stuff like that. So I'm going to pick Kennedy. I think he wins a 30-27 decision. Next is Cub Swanson versus Doo Ho Choi. And to me, this is one of those things where these two guys have almost the exact same style. I think Doo Ho Choi is just a little bit better at getting back up once he gets taken down. But they're basically the same thing. They both really like to strike. They both have decent takedowns and takedown defense. But like I said, the biggest area where Cub's biggest weakness has always been once you can actually get him to the ground, he has a really hard time at getting back up. As for Doo Ho Choi in his last couple of fights, he's shown that he's got good takedown defense, and if you take him down, he's really good at getting back up. And to me, that's one of the big aspects of this fight. And the biggest aspect to me is I think they're the same fighter striking-wise. I just think Doo Ho Choi is faster. And when it comes to these lighter weights, I think speed is the biggest difference. And that's why I just think Doo Ho Choi is just faster, and that's going to be the big difference. And I think he's going to win by TKO. And if he has to, I think he's got the judo where he could probably take Cub down. And if he takes Cub down, I think Cub will be able to get back up. So, like I said, I think this is just a younger version of Cub, a little bit faster. And I think he's going to get the knockout, maybe late second, early third. Next, we got Donald Cerrone versus Matt Brown. And to me, Matt Brown, you know, he's gone 1-4 in his last 5. And it's weird. I mean, it's not like he's looked like shit in any of those fights. It's just he hasn't been looking great. And now they're making him fight Cerrone instead of giving him, you know, a regular top 15 guy. And his last fight was the first time he ever got finished by strikes. And it just shows, I think, Matt Brown's biggest weakness is he's always had holes in his game because he's super aggressive. And I think that's just what's going to happen here. I think sooner or later this fight's going to hit the mat. Cerrone's going to hit a takedown or something. And once this fight goes to the ground, Cerrone's submission game is just way better than Matt Brown's. And I think he's going to lock up a triangle or renegade choke. I think this fight's going to be super fun until it hits the ground. But I think as soon as it does hit the ground, Donald Cerrone's just going to win really quick with a submission. And finally, we got Max Holloway versus Anthony Pettis. And this fight makes no sense to me because I feel like they're just making this fight a title fight for absolutely no reason. I feel like this should be the undisputed title fight or not a title fight at all. That's just my opinion. And I think that Pettis did not look amazing his last fight against Charles Oliveira. He had his moments and he looked decent. I'm not saying he looked horrible, but I'm just saying, you know, he just looked okay against a guy that I think he used to be way better than. And I think Max Holloway right now is in the prime of his career, and Pettis is kind of on the downswing. He hasn't looked as good as he used to in these last, 4 fights. And I think that if, you know, this is a big cut for him, and I think we saw that in his last fight. His conditioning didn't look amazing. So I think Holloway's just going to put the pace on him, and I think he might be the first person to finish Pettis just because I keep mixing their names up. I think Max is going to finish Pettis in this fight in the 4th round because he's really good at mixing in a lot of body shots, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think Max is eventually going to TKO Pettis in the 4th round with a body shot or a head kick or something like that. So that's how I've got it. I got Max Holloway win this fight by TKO. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.